The Tao Te Ching teaches us, those who know do not speak. Those who speak do not know. But what does that actually mean for your daily life? Let's explore through a story. Once upon a time, in a small village nestled deep within a dense forest, there lived a woodcutter named Li. He was known throughout the region as the hardest working man around. From sunrise to sunset, Li was in the forest, chopping trees with his axe. He took pride in his dedication, believing that the more he worked, the more trees he would cut down, and the more recognition he would earn. But then, something strange began to happen. Despite his tireless efforts, Li noticed he was cutting down fewer and fewer trees each day. He pushed himself harder, working longer hours, ignoring the growing pain in his hands and back. But no matter how much he strained, the results kept declining. Frustrated and confused, he asked himself, "What am I doing wrong?" One day, as Li struggled with a particularly stubborn tree, a wise elder happened to pass by. He observed Li for a few moments, noticing how the woodcutter was striking the tree with a dull, worn-out axe. Finally, the elder stepped forward and said, "Young woodcutter, why don't you take a moment to sharpen your axe?" Li looked at him in disbelief. "Stop? Sharpen the axe? I don't have time for that. If I stop now, I'll lose even more time." The elder smiled gently. "I understand your urgency," he said, "but think about this. If you continue using a dull axe, you'll spend more energy and more time on every single tree. But if you pause for just a few minutes to sharpen it, you'll cut faster, easier, and more effectively. In the end, you'll cut down more trees than if you just keep going like this." Li hesitated, but something in the elder's voice, calm, clear, and confident, made him reconsider. So, for the first time in days, Li stopped. He sat down on a nearby rock and began to sharpen his axe. When he finished, he was amazed. His blade gleamed, and it felt lighter in his hands. With a single strike, he brought down the stubborn tree that had resisted all his effort earlier. And in just a few hours, Li had cut down more trees than he had on any other day. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Li was tired, but deeply content. He had learned a lesson he would never forget. Stopping to sharpen the axe wasn't a waste of time. It was an investment in clarity, in energy, and in sustainable success. Sometimes we need to pause, to reflect, to sharpen not just our tools, but our minds, our habits, our focus. Only then can we move forward with true power and purpose. The story of Li and the wise elder invites us to a deep reflection on how we live our lives. How many times do we find ourselves rushing, struggling, exhausting our energies in pursuit of results, without realizing that by stopping for a moment, we could find a more efficient and, above all, more meaningful path? The lesson of sharpening the axe goes beyond physical work. It speaks to the importance of taking care of ourselves, reflecting, and preparing for the challenges we face. This channel grows not only through stories and reflections, but through the actions of each one of you. When you subscribe, when you leave a like, you help strengthen the channel, and the message that helped you can reach many others who need it too. Make a difference right now. Subscribe, leave a like, and don't forget to check the pinned comment for more resources that can transform your life. We've created a free mini ebook on how to apply ancient practices of silence and clarity in your daily life, designed for those who wish to cultivate this wisdom in real-life moments. But there is something even deeper in the story. When Li meets the elder by the stream, he discovers that stillness and pause are not just strategies for success, but a way to reconnect with the natural flow of life. The river does not rush, yet it always reaches its destination. This metaphor reminds us that often our anxiety and haste distance us from the wisdom that already exists within us. How many times have you felt like Lee, struggling against a stubborn tree, not realizing that the problem was not with the tree, but with the axe you were using? Here is a truth that we often ignore. Stopping is not synonymous with weakness. On the contrary, it is an act of courage and wisdom. When we stop to sharpen our axe, we are investing in ourselves. We give ourselves the opportunity to breathe, to reflect, and to find new perspectives. And by doing so, we discover that challenges that seemed insurmountable become easier to overcome. Think about your own life. How many times have you found yourself stuck in an exhausting routine with no time to take care of yourself? How many times have you ignored signs of fatigue, thinking you just needed to push harder? The story of Lee shows us that sometimes what we need is not more effort, but more awareness. We need to learn to listen to our body, our mind, and our heart. We need to stop to sharpen our axe. And how can we do this in practice? Start with small pauses throughout the day. Set aside a few minutes to breathe deeply, to meditate, or simply to observe the world around you. These moments of stillness may seem insignificant, but they have the power to transform your life. They are like sharpening the axe, an essential preparation for the challenges to come. But the reflection doesn't stop there. The story of Lee also invites us to question our values and priorities. What really matters to you? Success, recognition, productivity, or inner peace, connection with others, and the feeling of being in harmony with the world? When we take the time to reflect, we realize that many of the things we pursue so fervently are not as important as we thought. At the same time, we discover that the things that truly matter are within our reach if we only stop to appreciate them. Here is a question that can change your perspective. What are you willing to let go of to find the peace you so desire? Perhaps it's the need to control everything, the pressure for immediate results, or the relentless pursuit of approval. When you allow yourself to stop and reflect, you discover that true happiness lies not in what you achieve, but in how you live. And this is the great epiphany. Life is not a race, but a journey. And like any journey, it requires pauses, reflections, and course adjustments. When you learn to stop, you discover that life is much more than a series of tasks to be completed. It is an opportunity to grow, to connect, and to find meaning in every moment. So, I invite you to take a pause now. Breathe deeply and ask yourself, what do you need to sharpen in your life? It could be your health, your relationships, your career, or your inner peace. Whatever it is, give yourself permission to stop and take care of it.